It was April 25th in 1719 that Robinson Crusoe was published. Daniel Defoe's fictional work, The Life and Strange Adventures of Robinson Crusoe, the book about a shipwrecked sailor who spends 28 years on a deserted island, is based on the experiences of shipwreck victims and of Alexander Selkirk, a Scottish sailor who spent 4 years on a small island off the coast of South America in the early 1700s. Like his hero Crusoe, Daniel Defoe was an ordinary middle-class Englishman, not an educated member of the nobility like most writers at the time. Defoe established himself as a small merchant but went bankrupt in 1692 and turned to political pamphleteering to support himself. A pamphlet he published in 1702, satirizing members of the High Church, led to his arrest and trial for seditious libel in 1703. He appealed to powerful politician Robert Harley, first Earl of Oxford, who had him freed from Newgate Prison and who had hired him as a political writer and spy to support his own views. To this end, Defoe set up the Review, which he edited and wrote from 1704 to 1713. It wasn't until he was nearly 60 that he began writing fiction. His other works include Moll Flanders of 1722 and Roxana of 1724. He continued his eternity in London in 1731, one day before the 12th anniversary of Robinson Crusoe's publication. It was April 25th in the year 1950 that the Boston Celtics makes Chuck Cooper, an All-American forward from Duquesne University, the first Black American picked in the NBA draft. With the selection, the first pick in the second round, Cooper breaks the NBA's color barrier and changes the league for the better. The pick was met with skepticism by some in the NBA, including some of the Celtics owners. But Celtics founder and original owner Walter Brown famously said that Cooper could be striped, plaid, or polka dot. All I know is the kid can play basketball, and we want him on the Boston Celtics. Cooper's selection provided a pathway for other Black American players to play in the league. Earl Lloyd, who became the first Black American to play in an NBA game with the Washington Capitals, was selected later in the same draft as Cooper. Cooper averaged 9.3 points and 8.5 rebounds in his rookie season, the best of his 8 in the league. When he played on the road during the Jim Crow era, Cooper often had to eat and sleep in different locations than his white teammates. Cooper never thought of himself as a pioneer. One of his famous quotes, "Jackie Robinson took care of that when he broke the color line in baseball," unquote. He said this in a 1976 interview. Bob Cousy, who starred with the Celtics in the 1950s and early 1960s, roomed with Cooper. Cousy, a white player, hung out with him socially. Both of them liked jazz. Quote, "We bonded together, became friends, and remained so for years," said Cousy in a 2019 interview. Chuck Cooper continued his eternity on February 5th in 1984. He was inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame in 2019. It was April 25th of the year 1983 that the Soviet Union releases a letter that Russian leader Yuri Andropov wrote to Samantha Smith, an American fifth grader from Manchester, Maine, inviting her to visit his country. Andropov's letter came in response to a note Smith had sent him in December of 1982 asking if the Soviets were planning to start a nuclear war. At the time, the U.S. and Soviet Union were Cold War enemies. President Ronald Reagan, our nation's 40th president, a passionate anti-communist, had dubbed the Soviet Union the evil empire and called for massive increases in U.S. defense spending to meet the perceived Soviet threat. In his public relations duel with Reagan, known as the Great Communicator, Andropov, who had succeeded longtime Soviet leader Leonid Brezhnev in 1982, assumed a folksy, almost grandfatherly approach that was incongruous with the negative image most Americans had of the Soviets. Andropov's letter said that Russian people wanted to live in peace, to trade and cooperate with all our neighbors on the globe, no matter how close or far away they are, and certainly with such a great country as the United States. In a response to Smith's questions about whether the Soviet Union wished to prevent nuclear war, Andropov declared, quote, "Yes, Samantha, we in the Soviet Union are endeavoring and doing everything so that there will be no war between our two countries, so that there will be no war at all on Earth," unquote. Andropov also complimented Smith, comparing her to the spunky character Becky Thatcher from The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain. Samantha Smith, born June 29, 1972, accepted Andropov's invitation and flew to the Soviet Union with her parents for a visit. Afterwards, she became an international celebrity and peace ambassador, making speeches, writing a book, and even landing a role on an American television series. In February of 1984, Yuri Andropov continued his eternity from kidney failure and was succeeded by Konstantin Chernenko. The following year, in August of 1985, Samantha Smith continued her eternity as a result of a plane crash. She was 13 years old. Historic information, divulged and documented on the audio file can be verified on history.com.